Okay, I think we're away. Errol's come to join me today. I wonder how long she'll hang around. Here we go. Very good. We'll do a professional video with a bird on my head. Uh, this is an explanation through the capability architecture. It's a bit of a hello. All right, the whole flock's coming. It's a it takes a bit of getting your head round, but it serves a very important purpose. So indulge me for a few minutes, and we'll explain. All right. So many economic sectors, I'm focusing a lot on the energy sector. Many economic sectors are trying to digitalize right now. And the nature of digitalization usually means that there's a lot of work taking place by many organizations, particularly in infrastructure sectors. There's so much happening that even though everybody agrees that we should digitalize, it's very difficult to do it in a coordinated way. And it's very difficult to know, are we on track? And where are we actually going? So I've tried to solve some of those problems, and that is what I refer to as a capability architecture for data ecosystems. So let's begin. Right, so this is a web page. It stood up at target.economicarchitecture.co.uk. You are welcome to go and visit it and peruse at your leisure. I encourage you. This is the main homepage. I have talked about this thing more in the past. You can click in the top right corner to go see the original writings, but I've done more with it now. So what I provided before was a definition of the target state, which is summarized by this white diagram, which I'm going to click into now. So if this is a target state for your digitalization efforts, now you may disagree with my target state, and that is entirely fine. It doesn't matter for today's purposes. For the sake of argument, this is a target state, and you can have your own one if you want, and you can analyze things differently. It's up to you. Right, so we have a target, and I can toggle here between the color coding that shows you the layers of the architecture if you're the kind of person who likes layered architecture. And if you don't care about that, all that really matters is that you need to do all of these things in the boxes to have thoroughly digitalized your sector. Only this top layer is actually specific to energy. The rest of it's very applicable across sectors. And you would really want this entire diagram to be blue, which would mean, as see the scale on the left, that all of these capabilities are comprehensively being put forward. So what are these capabilities? Well, let's just do a flavor of it. Things like in the middle here, automated system balance. It might be a bit small for you, the text, so I'll read a few out. So system balance, very important in the energy sector, but it's one of the end states that people who are concerned with the energy domain are interested in, which is why it's energy specific. But as you dip down below, you get to much more of the data and digital capabilities that have to be in place. So for example, down here, we've got clean rooms. That's quite a common problem when you're dealing with quite sensitive data. Clean room capabilities are needed. Life cycle management for your data is an important thing to have. If you get further down the stack, you get to things like permissions data. That points you in energy to things like consumer consent solutions is a way Ofgem's trying to deal with that, for example. Data standards is a common thing that people want to digitalize. But you get other ones that maybe less people talk about, like conformance operations, which is, in short, it's whether things do what you thought they were going to do in the moment rather than ahead of time. And so on. There's lots and lots of these things. And you might be sat there thinking, I've never heard of conformance operations before, Stephen. What the hell are you talking about? And that's okay. No one knows everything about all topics, right? And the part of the point here is to define what your target state is. So I can click on conformance operations. And now what I've got here, let's ignore some of this. Just look at the beige section in the middle for a moment. So conformance operations, what is it? Well, it's got a purpose, in short, about, as I just said, about things working at the moment of exchange. I can expand on it though, because there's not very much to go on. And in here, I can now see why it's considered important, what it is not, what its scope typically is, and the kinds of things you'd expect to come out of people who are carrying out conformance work. So the point is I can go to any part of this diagram and I can have a click on it and I can learn what my thing is. So now at least I've got a reference point. So the next challenge is to say, well, is the energy sector delivering these capabilities? And that's where the color scoring really comes in. So we've got one thing over here on the left, which is blue, digitalization strategy. That looks positive, right? It's comprehensively being met. That sounds good. And we can learn more about why. There's a rationale up here. Now, I have to be very careful, right? So comprehensively being met, that's underspecified, actually. What do I mean by that? So let me actually just pop back to the main page and scroll down. And I'll just zoom in a bit for you for this one, since it's getting a bit bigger. So how is the scoring done? It's an assessment of relevance. And if you keep reading, what you'll find is the relevance of the publicly stated objectives of a piece of work. Now, that's different to whether that piece of work is actually doing those publicly stated objectives. And it's different again from whether that piece of work is succeeding at delivering its objectives. So what we've got right now in this published piece of work is just a starting point. It's just saying, do people intend for their work to solve this problem? Stop, right? Based on what they've said in the public domain. And if it's comprehensive, if it's for, then they intend for their work to solve that problem. So let's click back in again now. So there's only one item on here that has been scored as saying, yes, absolutely. There are clear public statements that say this piece of this need for a digitalization strategy is being met. So let's look at that a bit more closely. So we've got the explanation, which I won't read now. We don't need to read about the capabilities. It's just nice to remember they exist, what it is, what it isn't, and so on. And that matters when we dig in a bit deeper. And then we've got these things called source items. So the source, which will be multiple different things, but it would be, for example, DESNZ's digitalization framework. And then the items are the components within it, like the summary section, the purpose of the framework, our vision. These are all title sections taken from, you can see that a wider part of the sectioning. This is all parts of that document. We'll look at that a bit more closely in a moment. The point is there's a long list of things here. These are the supporting evidence that say, and some of them are only a score of 1. There's peripheral relevance here. There's some relevant work here. And actually, I can filter this down and just have a look and say, actually, look, there's 4 things really in this framework that are substantively leading development of a digitalization strategy. That's interesting. Nothing's blue here, nothing's 4, but the top it's blue and it's 4. Because actually the way this assessment's been conducted is it looks at each item individually and then it looks at the whole. And when it looks at the whole, that's where this aggregate score comes from. And the same thing is here. You see this, the purpose as a score of 3. So as a whole, all of these items down below without the filters come to a score of 3 against the purpose. They get a 3 against achieving what this capability is, the strategy. They get a 3 against scope, only a 2 against outputs, but actually, and there's a bit of judgment call taken in here, but as a collective, that adds up to being, you know what, this is more or less comprehensively in hand based on the stated objectives of the analysed work. That actually starts to move me on to another thing. You notice how here I talked about the DESNZ framework, and actually there's a little bit in here about Ofgem's data best practice and such, just a little bit. What are the things that have been analysed? Let's go back to the home page and scroll down below the picture and you see initiatives that have been assessed so far, and that's important, so far. Not everything has been assessed yet. So we've got DESNZ's digitalization framework, we've got the Ofgem SIF project, Strategic Innovation Fund, Ofgem UKRI, I should say, and Ofgem's data best practice work here. So each of these 3 things have been investigated in the sector, and there is much more that should be investigated here. Just for the interest is a bit of a backlog, you could say, of things that I would like to add in next. I won't go through them today, but I just want to give you that feeling that if you don't see stuff that's important on here yet, that's because there's just not been done yet, but it will be. So the idea is that you build up all of the key sources from across the sector, all of people's efforts, and then you conduct your analysis, which is highly automated, and won't go into that in this video. Then you can arrive at a more meaningful version of this picture, because of course today all these scores are based on just those 3 sources, and that is not enough to give you a reliable score. And we have to remember that this score is just testing, is it saying it's doing relevant work, which is separate from, is it actually achieving that work? So there's multiple things that would need building up, but it's giving you, and this is what I want to get across here, is an approach, right? I've got a target architecture and I've got an automated methodology that scans across all of the efforts that everybody's carrying out and asks the question, is this relevant? And later ask the question, is this achieving the goal? And so for digitalization strategy, there's a lot of work that says, yes, absolutely, there is an intent to have strategy. But that's just that one, right? And that's called a 4. I could look at something like matching and linking. It's only got relevant works. There's some relevant things happening. I can expand that, have a little look. There's a couple of SIF projects, a bit of Ofgem. Excuse me. Ofgem's data best practice work is doing a little bit on it as well. That's not very much, right? Actually, on the purpose, it's scored a 3, but I bet if we open this up, you'll see, look, there's a 1 on the outputs. There's a couple of 2s. Overall, with some explanation, this is scoring a 2 on matching and linking. But isn't that great? I can get a great sense of things immediately from an interesting dashboard with lots of explanations about why I've got that score. And what's more, maybe I'm really interested in, okay, matching and linking, what's Verify doing with respect to that? And I've got a summary here, but maybe that's not satisfactory. So I can click on it. All right, okay. So now I'm looking at SIF Verify and its relevance to matching and linking. So a specific pair of a source item, or a source rather, Verify, and then its items come down below, and then a specific capability. And in here, I've just basically got a more detailed version, stepping through those different parts of the capability definition, the purpose, the scope, what it is, looking at each of the what it is items and giving a view on whether that is being delivered by the stated objectives of the project. And quite reasonably, some projects are not trying to do some things, and not you can't do everything. And there's a section like the what it isn't is analyzed, but it's not scored. But you come up with a section by section scoring. You get an aggregate score for this project, and then that project rolls up with all of the other pieces of work relating to matching and linking, and you get an overall score for matching and linking. But the point is, I've got quite a lot of detail in here. I've got the audit trail, and actually, I can look in more depth. So here we are on the verify page. That's where we've taken ourselves to, and I can go and look at here and here. These two links, these take you back to source. So in here, you'll find the UKRI document and verify. There it is. It's one of the ones on this page up here. £5 million project. It's got some basic data about it. I've also got the ENA Smarter Network portal that's talking me through all of the stated objectives of this project. So that's the original source. If you want the details, here's how the metadata's come out. Is just the way that we characterize the project, and here's the specific text that has been analyzed. And yes, there are LLMs working in the background of this. It allows you to achieve the scale because there's been thousands of different analyses take place in here. And you can look across the piece. So we looked just then at matching and linking, but I could expand all this and look at verify across many different projects. Of course, there's lots of zeros. Verify doesn't do all the capabilities, not by a long shot. Let's just filter out all the not relevant ones. And here we can just see all of the different parts of the capability architecture that verify is contributing to. I could have gotten there from a different route. If I go back home, I can go on the UKRI CIF projects. I've got a list of all 194 projects thereabouts. They're the ones I've got data for at the moment. I filtered down to 66 immediately because quite a lot of them actually ended before the beta stage, which means that the project's probably not coming forwards, and so it's less interesting to analyze. But you can turn that on in the filters if you want to see them all. So looking at the ones that are more relevant, you'll find, and I'll just search for it, verify. There it is in our list. So we can go back to that page if we want to, where we were a moment ago. I could also maybe look by organization, say Northern Power Grid. Here's all of their CIF projects, for instance, and I'll maybe turn that off, or if I click correctly, I will anyway. And then I could go and have a look and see, well, okay, what projects are Baringa? Random projects on here. They've got one project that they're working on and so on. And this is all just pulling in the public data. But so it allows you to navigate, find what you're interested in, and see what its contribution is to the capability architecture, the target state. Do the same in DESNZ. So here's the DESNZ document broken down into its stages. You can click on any part of it. You can have a look at the text that was analyzed from that section of the document, and you can go and have a look at the different things that text is progressing for the sector. Same thing again, Ofgem's data best practice principles. If you want to know how all of this analysis takes place, there's a section called About the Assessment, which is right here, and you can go and analyze that. Just go read it and understand how the analysis takes place. So that's how it works, right? There's not enough sources covered yet, and you would want to go further than just testing relevance. But you get to a page like this that gives you a simple heat map that says, are we seriously delivering digitalization? And you can have a different heat map if you want. You can change it away from my definition of the target state to your own one. Don't care. Doesn't matter. It's the approach that really matters. And until the sector does this, we are driving blind at our efforts to digitalize. And that's really the thing that I want to use this tool to get across. Like, let's not be blind. That's the goal. All right. Thank you.